Welcome back to another season of Kane's Game Review here on After the Storm. After a pretty tumultuous offseason, one that I kind of stayed away from personally. I didn't really follow the Canes much in the offseason. Hearing the news and everything that was going on was about as much as I kept up with it. Other than that, I really didn't look any further or read any interviews or anything of that sort. One thing I did really advocate for last offseason was change, and there was a lot of it. This, of course, doesn't encompass all the players and all the additions and subtractions from the team, but 6 brand new players to the Hurricanes played their first regular season game in game number 1, a 6-3 win against the New York Islanders. In previewing this game, there wasn't a ton that was different other than these new additions. Outside the top line, really, Aho, Kokaniemi, and Nietzsche, which is a brand new line. Don't think Nietzsche's played much with Aho at all last season. They really did ride that Aho, Svechnikov, Teravainen line pretty hard, even into the playoffs. And really, it's just nice to see some new faces along with the rest of the club, and none bigger probably than in net Frederik Andersen getting his first start as a member of the Carolina Hurricanes. Originally drafted, I think, back in 2012 or 2013. I might even be too early on that one. But drafted all those years ago, didn't end up signing with Carolina, ended up going to the Ducks, traded to the Leafs back about 5 or 6 seasons ago. Had some success there. Obviously not playoff success with Toronto, but ready to kind of prove that wrong. He's been very injury-ridden the last few years, and in this game, as I'll get to later, I really wasn't impressed with his performance. And at the other end of the net, Ilya Sorokin getting the start in the season opener for the New York Islanders. It was strange to see Varlamov not anywhere near this game. I really had thought he wasn't injured or anything like that, so I'm not sure. Corey Schneider was backing up the Islanders in this one. It was very strange not to see Varlamov, but I even now I haven't even looked into it, but I assume Varlamov's injured. Maybe he's on injured reserve and out for a little while. This is a great first test of the season for the Carolina Hurricanes, going up against the team that has been in back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals in the last 2 years. Of course, losing to the eventual champions, the Tampa Bay Lightning. And the first period in this one was pretty back and forth the whole way through. A few goals exchanged in this one. Early on, Svechnikov made his way to the net. There's been lots of talk about Svechnikov, a lot of positive comments coming out of camp from the likes of Jordan Stahl and Rod Brendamore talking about, how he's going to hit another gear this season, if that's even possible from what we've seen from Svechnikov already. I'm very excited to watch Svech this year. He looks like he's just ready to take off and have a breakout season. One of the latest contract registrations, because that's how Lou Lamoriello works over in Long Island, Zach Parise, I thought actually looked pretty good in this game. And he's a player that, had struggled pretty mightily in Minnesota. Gets bought out along with Ryan Suter. And if you've read Mike Russo's article about that, man, what a tumultuous friggin' experience over in Minnesota this offseason, and a team that is going to be extremely interesting to watch in a couple of years. But I thought Parise looked really good in Long Island. He's a guy I'm kind of keeping an eye on, because I think he's still got a lot to provide to a team in this league, even though he's going to be playing bottom 6 minutes in New York. I think he can probably put up about 20 goals, and he was flying early in this one. I think he got a shot away, maybe a backhander or just a quick from the right side of the net. I think he either hit the crossbar or he hit Anderson in the helmet. I can't remember exactly which one in this one, but it was a really good chance early on for the Isles. Just right immediately after the Parise play, Martin Necas comes down the other side, dekes through the neutral zone, and rings the shot off the crossbar. Again, another player that is just going to probably hit another gear this year, and I'm so excited to watch Martin Necas play. Our first penalty comes up to the Islanders in this one. Brock Nelson goes off for hooking. And on this play, a player I thought who played really well, but I will get into a little bit of a criticism about his game later on, is Tony DeAngelo. DeAngelo bobbles the puck at the blue line on the power play. Clutterbuck gets away with the puck, and Tony actually, to his credit, I think a big problem other than the obvious issues off ice, his on-ice play, his defensive game is not that great. We all remember in the bubble, Aho just completely walking the guy and roofing the backhand against the Rangers. Tony here actually gets back very quickly. He's a very fast skater, and actually just that complete push right to Clutterbuck, knocking him completely down, was a really good defensive play for a guy who is definitely not known for this. The penalty gets killed off, and then this quick little play that looked very innocent on the broadcast, and even taking a look on the replay, didn't look like much. It looked very close even in real time. A nice little passing play comes across. I think it was deflected off somebody's skate, or maybe Anderson directed it off his pad. But Barzal gets a shot, and somehow this ends up in the net. I didn't really see it, and I don't think any replay that we were shown on the broadcast could actually capture it behind the goal line. But they review it about 2 or 3 minutes after play has gone on here, and they determine it's a goal, so the Islanders are up 1-0. And after a lengthy review like this, which we could argue is slowing down the pace of the game and not being true to hockey, honestly, I thought the worry would be that the Canes would slow down quite a bit here, but they come right back with a goal. Ethan Bear getting his first point as a member of the Carolina Hurricanes. Another player just like Svechnikov, just like Niches. I cannot wait for Ethan Bear on this team. So excited to watch him this year. Acquired in the Warren Foegele trade to Edmonton in the offseason. He gets a nice pass over to Teravainen. Teravainen's shot deflected by Svechnikov in front. Svech has his first, and we are tied 1-1. And then a weird play in front. A penalty gets called on Martin Necas. I think he got a cross-checking penalty. I can't remember exactly which one it was. In front and away from that play at the exact same time is a bit of a skeptical hit. It ended up not being reviewed, and I think for good reason. And I'll get into that in a second. But Brock Nelson with a bit of a head check on Sebastian Aho. If you take a look at the replay, I wish I could show it here, but they talked about on the broadcast about committing to a hit, and at the point you've committed to a hit, can you pull back? Likely not. And I think Brock Nelson was committed to a hit here on Aho, who kind of stumbles, and the head becomes the main point of contact. I don't think there was much fault here on Nelson, and Nelson also, if you take a look at him on the broadcast, he didn't just skate away. He didn't look like he purposely, changed his trajectory to get into Aho's head, and he even put out his hand to be like, oh shoot, afterwards. I don't really fault this play from Nelson at all. So it was unfortunate. I thought Aho going to the bench, I for sure thought he was going into concussion protocol and would maybe had one and would be out for quite a while, which would be a brutal start to the year. But he came back 2 minutes later, nothing happened. Meanwhile, the penalty to Necas gets killed off. And off a draw on the left side of the ice in the Islanders zone, Jacob Slavin comes through. Man, he's been so good these last couple seasons. Man, just walks through, waits till the perfect amount of time. It looks like he shoots it directly off of Nino Niederreiter's leg. But I think it was the goal actually got credited to Jesper Fast, who had a nice deflection. And it's 2-1 Carolina. And that would round out the first period. Brady Shea took a penalty, and I'm going to get to him later about his game there. And Pageau, I believe, had a really good chance to maybe tie up the game right toward the end of the period. But the first period ends, and we are up 2-1 heading into the second period. And at the beginning of the second period, this is kind of where I thought the game got away from the Canes a little bit to start. Frederik Andersen made a nice save on Brock Nelson as he came across. But the rebound gets right back to Nelson, and he pots it in. And that was kind of the story of the game for Andersen, I felt, was he, I think he did well at points, and other points he did really bad. And a very average performance here. And for the Canes to be successful this year, to take that next step to get back to the Eastern Conference Finals and hopefully the Cup Finals, he's going to have to be a lot better. And in this game, he just wasn't, and we'll talk about that in a bit. So the score is now 2-2. Svechnikov now takes an interference penalty. And very shortly into that one, Anders Lee takes a cross-checking penalty, so the penalty is negated. In the Islanders zone, a little bit of bobbling of the puck. It starts bumping around everywhere. And eventually, Casey Cizikas looks like he has an opportunity very, very swiftly just to get that puck right out, or, chip it off the glass or backhand it away or something. And it just slides off his blade. Jordan Martinook, who'd fallen on the play, is getting up, and he actually just takes a nice swipe of the puck. It goes top shelf. Marty Man's got his first of the season, and the Canes are back in the lead, 3-2. One of the craziest things I saw in this game, I couldn't even believe it when I saw it, because it was Vincent Trocheck. And one of the things I love watching about hockey is when players make other players better. And for a lot of us, that's usually an older player doing that for a younger player. Just passing it down, being a bit of a mentor and showing younger players and, elevating them to that next level of hockey. And meanwhile, Marty Nietzsche, who is the king of wraparounds in this league, I swear, somehow has now inspired Vincent Trocheck to start doing wraparounds. And Vincent almost friggin' scored on this one, and it was so nice to see. Trocheck was so good last year before the injury, banged up in the playoffs, unfortunately, and hopefully he can just restore how effective he was as our second-line center. And this game here was a phenomenal showcase for him. So I don't think he got on the board or anything, maybe assist or something here, as I haven't checked the box score. But he was all over the play in this one and very, very good. In another reviewed play coming up with Nino Niederreiter crashing the net. Chara hauls him down, puts him right into Sorokin, and the puck actually ends up in the net. Nino Niederreiter gets up and celebrates everything just like it went in, like a normal goal. They go up and review it. It's determined that the puck goes in, and then the Islanders end up challenging it for goaltender interference. No goaltender interference on the play. The Islanders get a penalty, and the Canes are up 4-2. And this doesn't last too long as the Islanders get one back. Anders Lee, the captain of the Islanders, gets one to make it 4-3. And on this play, the broadcast really highlighted Brett Pesce for some reason. I thought Pesce just kind of lost a puck battle, which is a little bit more forgivable than what I saw from Brady Shea on this play. Brady was just standing there watching nothing. I'm going to get into him a little bit later. This was not a good game from him at all, and it's 4-3. That would pretty much close out the second period. Again, very similar to the first period. Carolina gets another chance, and Pageau, I have him written down twice here on my little notepad for the game. Pageau missed 2 open nets at both ends of each period. Man, the only stuff I saw of him this game was getting hit and missing open nets. And for a guy who's one of my favorite guys to watch around the league, former Ottawa Senator, this was not a great game for him. So we head to the third period with a score 4-3 in favor of Carolina. Third period begins, and at this point it was pretty much all Carolina right from here on to the end of the game. Svechnikov comes out, tries another lacrosse goal move. Didn't get it. I think they were talking about on the broadcast, they said Adam Pelech got a stick on it. I don't really think so. I think it was more really about, I think Svechnikov just missed it, which is kind of crazy, but I think that's going to happen when you're worried about somebody checking your stick on a lacrosse move. But it's good to see that he's not, shying away from it. He's still going to continue to try these things. The captain, Jordan Stahl, comes around the net, cycles himself back out into the slot, and takes a shot, hits the post. Anderson kind of locked it down here. He was pretty good in this third period. He made a nice stop on Beauvillier. Svechnikov later hit the post on a power play in this one. He was all over it this game. It's just a fantastic start for Svech. And on a power play late in the game, Teuvo Teravainen with a rocket of a shot. It was mentioned on the broadcast, and I think every Canes fan would share this sentiment. Teuvo Teravainen is an incredible shooter when he shoots the puck. He's one of the best passers in the league, but man, can this guy wire a puck when he wants to. Top shelf, just under the bar, perfect placement, and the Canes lead 5-3. And on this play, another Cane getting their first point of their Canes career. Tony DeAngelo gets the assist on this goal by Teravainen. Aho later on with the net pulled in the Islanders' end. He comes down, draws a penalty from Barzal. DeAngelo gets his second assist of the game, finds Andrei Svechnikov, who pots it for his second goal of the game. Canes lead 6-3, and that's how this one would end. So let's get to some players I thought were good. I want to highlight a couple Canes players on both sides, I think, maybe one in the middle. And I also would really like to highlight a Isles player from this game in a good way. So to start off with Canes players, one of the better players I think obviously was, Svechnikov. I noticed him a whole lot. The one I noticed the most, in the most positive light, I didn't see him make a single mistake all night. Ethan Bear. Bear was just fantastic at moving the puck. He would jump up in the rush, jump up in the offensive zone attack at times. And I thought he just had a phenomenal game in this one. I love the addition of him One thing on the broadcast they were talking about with Tony DeAngelo, I believe Mike Maniscalco talked about this, was that DeAngelo was brought in to replace Dougie Hamilton's offense. And to an extent, I agree with that, but I don't think DeAngelo was brought in to just be Dougie Hamilton, because honestly, with how good Dougie is, and while I'm personally was not a fan of giving him the $9.5 million he got in New Jersey, I don't think DeAngelo was just brought in to replace Dougie's offense. I think that Bear and DeAngelo were brought in to replace that offensive output, and also, you know what it does by bringing in Bear and DeAngelo? It makes 3 or at least 2 units of the defense very offense driven. Having a guy like Slavin next to Bear helps him freewheel and do his game. And I think having Ian Cole, again, another player I really do want to highlight here, having Ian Cole next to Tony DeAngelo allows DeAngelo to freewheel a little bit. Moving on to Ian Cole, block shots, throwing hits. Honestly, what a complimentary piece to this defensive core. As much as I might get some flack for it, I was not liking Jake Bean and Hayden Fleury much at times last year in that system. Just not players I think on the third pairing. Like you sort of need the Ian Coles of the game to be there, to throw hits, to block shots. And while those guys might have been willing to do that, they just weren't doing it at a high enough level for Rod's system. So I love the fact that they went out and got Ian Cole. Moving to the middle ground of the positive and the negative spectrum on this one, Frederik Andersen I thought started really bad. Did fix his... He played really well in the third. I shouldn't, slight him in any regard there. But like I mentioned earlier, if the Canes are going to have a lot of success this year, he's going to have to be a lot better. That brings us to Brady Shea. I don't know if I've seen a worse game from Brady in a Canes uniform since he got traded here in 2019. Man, he does not have a good one here. Jeez. Maybe it was 2020 when he got traded. This year feels like it's forever. Nevertheless, Brady, man, he was just fighting it all night long. Took a penalty. He's, not really anywhere on the defensive end for a couple of the goals in this one. Didn't have a great game. I still love Brady in that system, and I love that second pairing of him and Brett Pesce. So I'll chalk it up and give him a lot of benefit of the doubt. We've seen so much good stuff from Brady Shea in a Canes uniform as of late that I'm willing to write off one game as just a bad night. Flipping over to the Islanders, though, I mean, I don't know if I can talk how much more positively I can talk about somebody like Matt Barzal. He's so incredible. This guy walks around that ice surface with the puck on his stick and nobody can get it off. He can cycle 2 or 3 times. You saw it in this game where he did sharp cuts. He's losing Jacob Slavin, who's one of the best defenders in the league. He's making his way to the net. He's getting shots. He's so good. He's the premier player on this Islanders team. He's kind of the only player who is like that on their offense system, who's not really a two-way guy. He's like more of a pure offense. I don't think he's bad on his defensive end either. That's not what I'm saying with that. But man, is he ever offensively gifted, this guy. So there's always a few players on each team. I think back in the first season I was doing this, I highlighted Connor Garland, who's now on the Vancouver Canucks, in a game when he was playing with the Arizona Coyotes. There's always a couple players on each team that I just love watching. He's one of them. Matt Barzal's so dang good. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for the very first episode. I'm so glad to be back doing this again. Season 3. I believe I can do all 82 this year. I'm going to try my absolute darndest. Pretty sure I can. It's been very sporadic and life has gotten in the way of doing these, and I just want to be able to do them a lot more this year and dedicate some stuff. So there's going to be additions coming to the channel for every one of these videos this year. I'm excited to bring them, and just so excited to get this season rolling and get back into hockey mode. So thank you so much for watching. Click like if you liked the video down below. Remember to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell if you want the videos as soon as they upload. And as always, guys, I will catch you on the next one.